It's very wrong upstairs, okay? It's more than just unqualified. It's nuttiness. It's like Hollywood couldn't script a movie. Like put her, Bobert, and Marjorie Taylor Greene in a remake of 9 to 5. Marjorie Taylor Greene can play the Dolly Parton character. And it's just gonna be nuts. Put them where they're better used to us, not on the speaker's balcony or even in the nation's capital, okay? Give them a reality show and maybe Vanessa and Company will go away. And maybe that's the name of it, Vanessa and Company. There's a ring to it. Vanessa and Company, she'll like it, right? She'll love it. She just wants to be seen, Jordan.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what's important here. So you mentioned the other stories, the other videos she's done. It's all about getting attention. She's running the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert playbook. Just say and do ludicrous things, get attention, get media coverage, continue to build up a national profile. Unfortunately, it seems to be working. Her tactics are getting attention. It's getting coverage. That's just the political system we live in here. We are out of time, unfortunately, but I had a great time with Sharon Reed. Where can people follow you and check out more of your work?
Of course, TYT, Rebel HQ. Another video should go up soon. Hope that you will check out my work. I'm a work in progress in the Black Network. I do work with them as well. And at Sharon Reed Live across all platforms. And I really, really enjoyed it, Jordan. I hope we'll be together again soon. I don't know if I like the way that sounded. I hope that we'll get to do this again soon. I don't know, maybe you get that all the time, but I just wanted to clarify.
I appreciate it. Yes, it was a ton of fun. Had a great time. Looking forward to when we can do a show together soon. Until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there.
All right, welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than senior staff writer at The Ringer, TYT contributor, Wosny Lambre. Always good to have Woz on the program. Top story of the day, hell of a thing. Donald Trump's nephew says, yes, Trump is racist. He utilizes the N-word, provides a specific scenario where Trump said the N-word over and over again, but other people in the family, they've echoed the same thing. But those outside of the Trump family were very clear that this man is racist. I want to remind you, before we get into the new book from his nephew, of the Central Park Five.
You better believe that I hate the people that took this girl and raped her brutally. You better believe it.
The vicious rape and beating of a 30-year-old investment banker, Tricia Miley, who was jogging in Central Park last night. 5 youths are in custody and are being questioned. The youngest is only 13.
Trump put his money where his mouth is by taking out this full-page ad in 4 New York City newspapers. Bring back the death penalty.
When I first saw this ad that Donald Trump made, I knew that this famous person calling for us to die was very serious.
5 teens between the ages of 15 and 17 were charged with numerous rape, sodomy, and assault counts.
In 1989, myself and 4 other individuals were arrested and falsely accused of raping the Central Park jogger in a case that became widely known as the Central Park jogger case. We became known as the Central Park Five. In 2002, we would finally be innocent after the real perpetrator came forward, and that was confirmed by DNA evidence.
That's just part of his legacy of racism. Dr. Yusuf Salam, who was speaking there, a dear friend of mine now, a council member representing Harlem, remarkable human being. There's an interview I did with him in front of college students. Check it out if you can. When the Civil War was fought in the United States of America, they want you to believe it was fought over something called states' rights. It was fought over one particular state right, the right to own Black people, which also came with the right to brutally assault, rape, molest, and murder them. It was human trafficking, is what it was. So the echo that happens today from Trump supporters talking about bringing back the Civil War, you cannot dismiss the origin of that proclamation, which is rooted, once again, in racism. Here it is.
I'm afraid if we lose this one, it's going to take a civil war to save the country, and it will be saved. It's the greatest experiment in the history of mankind. And if we come down to a civil war, I'm glad we got people like Schmitty and the Bikers for Trump on our side.
This is Ohio State Senator George Lang calling for a civil war if Trump loses the election. He later said he regrets making those remarks, but they aren't the first of their kind for MAGA Republicans. Recently, Trump himself said,
if we don't win this election, we may never have another election. I'm telling you, this may be our last election.
And numerous politicians on the right have signaled they won't accept the election results if Trump doesn't win.
Yes or no, will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president.
Other MAGA politicians and pundits have also suggested the possibility of a civil war.
We become totally unhinged if Donald Trump is not elected in November.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
I don't want a civil war. I don't want to have to draw my rifle. I want to make this problem go away with my legislative means of doing so.
Harris campaign spokesperson Amar Moussa responded to Senator Lang's Civil War prediction in a statement saying, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are running a campaign openly sowing hatred and promising revenge against their political opponents. It's a feature, not a bug, of their campaign and message to the American people. That's why a Republican official was empowered to predict a civil war while introducing these candidates.
There's a whole lot more. Let me get into it. So Donald Trump's nephew recalls a situation where the future US president went on an N-word tirade, all right? Here's the book that is coming out next week in America. At the start of this book, you will see the New York real estate career of Trump profiled, surveying damage to a beloved car, and according to the nephew, furiously started using the N-word. The shocking scene appears in the book All in the Family, The Trumps and How We Got This Way by Fred C. Trump III, which will be published once again next week. The Guardian obtained a copy, quote, N-words. I recall him saying disgustedly, look what the N-words did, Fred Trump writes, describing his uncle's racist outburst. In the midst of a tumultuous election in which Trump faces VP Kamala Harris, the first woman of color to be vice president, the book may prove explosive. Allegations of racism have followed Trump through his life in business and in politics. Rumors persist that tape exists of Trump using the N-word during his time on The Apprentice, the hit NBC show that propelled him towards politics, though none have emerged yet. Omarosa, a black contestant, has said she's heard such a tape. Trump, however, denies it. So there are people who will say, so what? He may have used the N-word. As a matter of fact, when it was all but certain that the tape may come out, we have recordings of his surrogates coming up with spin, trying to figure out how to spin the potential use of the N-word from then President Donald Trump before he became the nominee and the winner of the contest. So they're willing to vouch for a racist. They're willing to protect them. They're willing to spin. They're willing to do whatever they need to do in order to have their proxy to power and money. But instead of trying to figure out how racist Trump is, then there are those who will argue, well, is Trump really racist or not? Does he protect racists? Does he applaud them? Does he listen to them? Does he invite them over to his Mar-a-Lago mansion to have dinner with him? There's more. Since winning the Republican nomination for president in 2016, through 4 years in the White House and in his third presidential campaign, Trump has repeatedly used racist language and has faced accusations of race baiting. This is red meat to his followers, by the way. He has denied all allegations. Nonetheless, Fred C. Trump III describes in detail a stunning moment he says happened in the early 1970s at the house of his grandparents, Donald Trump's parents in Queens, New York. It was, quote, just a normal afternoon for preteen me, Trump III writes. But then his uncle arrived. Donald was pissed. Trump III writes, boy, was he pissed. Trump says his uncle showed him his white Cadillac Eldorado convertible in its retractable canvas top. Quote, there was a giant gash at least 2 feet long and another shorter gash next to it. N-words, he says. N-words, I recall him saying disgustedly. Look at what the N-words did. I knew that was a bad word. Trump III writes, had not seen whoever damaged his car. Instead, he saw the damage, then went straight to the place where people's minds sometimes go when they face a fresh affront across the racial divide. Fred C. Trump III is a successful New York real estate executive outside the Trump firm. And because of his experiences as a parent, a campaigner in support of the intellectually and developmentally disabled, he is not the first Trump to write a book about growing up in a family led by Trump Sr., Fred Trump Sr., a New York construction and real estate magnate, and containing the future president. In 2020, Fred C. Trump, the third sister, Mary Trump, published the bestseller, Too Much or Never Enough. Promoting that book, she said her uncle was, quote, clearly racist, adding that she had heard him using racist language, quote, and I don't think that should surprise anybody given how racist he is today. Mayor Trump will release another memoir this year about the sad life and early death of her and Fred C. Trump's the third's father, Fred Trump Jr., the oldest son, who nonetheless saw his younger brother take over the family business. When Fred Trump Sr. died, Trump III and his sister were effectively disinherited by their uncles and aunts before reaching a settlement. In 2020, when Mary Trump released her memoir and Donald Trump attempted to block it, her brother distanced himself from the project. But this June, when Simon & Schuster announced Trump III's own book, it promised candid and revealing, never before told stories that would shed light into the darker corner of the Trump empire. The publisher also said Trump III was motivated to write by the 2024 election and suggested his book might shape the decision of a nation. The book spares little in its portrayal of Trump attitudes about race, of Queens in the 1960s and 70s. Trump III says it was, quote, one of the most diverse places on the planet, but also one of contrast between Jamaica States, the affluent white neighborhood where the Trumps lived, and areas where majority of people of color lived as well. Quote, if something bad happened to residents of Jamaica Estates, Trump III writes, they were the ones who did it. Almost certainly it was them. He considers a key question. So was Donald a racist? Noting that, quote, people have been asking for decades. Trump III says his uncle used the N-word at a time when he says people said all kinds of crude, thoughtless, prejudiced things, adding, quote, maybe everyone in Queens was a racist then. Trump III says he did not hear his grandfather, Fred Trump Sr., use the N-word, but he did hear him sometimes say other slurs. And tenants were uniformly white. That had to mean something, didn't it? Question mark. Let's put it up. Put up the picture. Okay. 1973. Fred Trump Sr., Donald Trump, and Trump Company, they were sued. Why? They were sued by the U.S. Justice Department for being racist. Racial discrimination at the New York housing development, Trump III writes. This was a painful period for the company, and therefore for Donald, all the publicity was bad. The R word, racist, was thrown around. The Trumps had to settle. No admission of guilt, however. Trump III also addresses the grandfather's apparent arrest at a KKK rally in 1927, which he says surprised the family when it was recently reported. Why is this important? It's important because he's in a position to create policy. The tapestry of his own background provides significant context as to the man he is today, or the piece of a man he attempts to be. Embracing the most bigoted among us, platforming them, praising them, saying that they are good patriots and Americans. It gives you an idea of his pedigree. All right. Was interesting book, not a surprising saga. What say you?
No, it's not surprising at all. I don't think anybody who's paid attention to Donald Trump's history, specifically as a public figure, could make the argument that Donald Trump has never been racist or never held racist thoughts. Like, I don't know how you credibly make that argument considering Donald Trump's track record as it regards race here in America. And, I'm glad you played that clip of some of the stuff that Donald Trump said surrounding the Central Park Five. I think people need to understand the atmosphere around New York City, specifically at the time. It was a especially divisive one racially throughout the city. So there was that Central Park jogger case, which the Central Park Five were wrongly convicted, ended up serving, over a decade in prison for a crime they didn't commit. Before that, 5 years before that, was the so-called subway vigilante, a guy named Bernard Geitz, who shot 4 young people, minorities, on the train. The guy was called a freaking hero for it, ended up serving less than a year for said crimes, right? And there was this idea of lawlessness on the train being perpetuated by the city's Black and brown communities. And here comes Donald Trump into that, divisive atmosphere. And what does he do? He adds fuel to the fire. Folks will remember when he came down them damn escalators, when he's painting this picture of just blood and gore and craziness at the border of these rapists, so-called rapists, and criminal Mexicans. They're not sending their best. That was the most animating feature of his campaign, most people would argue. He made his bones on this idea of immigration and an out of control border. Like that's who Donald Trump has been. Like it doesn't. Me and Dr. Richie don't need to carve some narrative for you guys. This is what is on the public record. What I think is quite interesting, though, is how these guys figure how to spin this going forward in terms of the Trump campaign. Because if the polling is to be believed, his coalition is blacker, it's browner, it's younger. And I wonder how he's going to square what his instincts have been racially, with this new, just broader coalition. Like, if we'll see what happens in November when people actually go out and vote. But boy, it seems like he's got a more diverse and broad coalition. And I wonder how he handles that going forward, because doing this is not going to work.
Yeah. Well said. And the irony is, the campaign is supposed to be browner and blacker, et cetera. But they officially got rid of all of their caucus advocacy groups, Latinos, Republican Latinos, Black Republicans, et cetera. All of those groups have been dismissed summarily by the RNC. And somehow they still proclaim that this is the party that invites them to the big tent, so to speak. All right. Hell of a thing. One of the saddest stories you'll hear. A father kills his own child, put it up full mass, left her in the SUV to go play video games. 37-year-old Christopher Schultz of Marana, Arizona, was arrested on July 12th. Second-degree murder charges and 1 count of felony child abuse following the tragic death of his own 2-year-old daughter. Her name was Parker. She was discovered inside of a hot SUV amid triple-digit temperatures on July 9th. Police said Schultz came home from running errands and allegedly forgot about the sleeping child after he went indoors and started playing video games. Per video obtained by KVOA, 3 days after their daughter's death, Erica Schultz pleaded with a judge at a virtual pretrial hearing to allow her husband to come home. Quote, "This was a big mistake. I think that doesn't represent him," she said. "I just want the girls to see their father so that I don't have to tell them tonight that they're going to endure another loss." According to the wife, the deadly incident marked at least the second time this summer he left one or more of their children behind in triple-digit heat, although police have not responded to any other incidents at the residence. Schultz was described as a lifelong Arizona resident, unemployed, with no history of felony convictions, no prior misdemeanor domestic violence arrest. The complaint suggests he not be released on personal recognizance, and the state requested a $1 million bond, citing concerns about his own truthfulness to authorities when questioned. The defense, however, argued he is not a flight risk and had no violent history, requesting a $25,000 secured bond instead. So Schultz scored the lowest risk on all pretrial assessments based on their testing model for risk assessment, despite pretrial services also recommending a bond. The judge noted Schultz's strong community ties and lack of criminal history, determining he did not pose a danger, and ordered his release to pretrial services. He is set to appear for a preliminary hearing on August 1st. Schultz allegedly admitted he left Parker sleeping in the car with the engine running and the AC on, claiming he did not want to disrupt her nap. However, Schultz also acknowledged his awareness of a safety feature that turns the SUV off automatically if left running idle for about 30 minutes per court papers. Erica called 911, coming home and discovering the lifeless child around 4:15 p.m. The toddler was still strapped to a booster seat inside the vehicle, which was parked in the driveway. ABC 15 reported at the time that on July 9th, temperature hit a record-setting high of 111 degrees. It would only take roughly 20 minutes for a car to heat up to 140 degrees and just 40 minutes to reach 150 degrees. Parker was rushed to a hospital, but she never regained consciousness. She was pronounced dead at 4:58 p.m. He literally cooked his own child to death. Schultz later told investigators he arrived home at 2:30 p.m. He acknowledged his daughter fell asleep in the car. However, footage from a neighbor's security camera captured Schultz arriving home at 12:53 p.m. and walking into the house by himself. He lied. 3 hours later, Schultz's wife came home and panicked when she did not see the child right away. Hearing his wife's cries, Schultz scrambled through the house, room by room, before finally going outside, where his daughter was inside the vehicle, sweltering with the engine off, police said. Security camera footage from next door never showed Schultz going back outside to check on the girl until more than 3 hours after he parked in the driveway. That means the temperatures were over 150 degrees. Per court documents obtained by the Arizona Republic, Schultz and his wife exchanged several text messages as she rushed the child to the hospital, which police later obtained and found that Schultz had done this before. Quote, "I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you?" Erica said in the text. "We've lost her. She was perfect," Schultz responded, according to police. "Baby, our family. How could I do this? I killed our baby. This can't be real." When police arrived, they seized the SUV and Schultz's PlayStation gaming console. The Schultz have two older daughters, 5 and 9, who arrived home shortly before their father got there with Parker. In an interview with police, the older sister said their father often left them unattended in the vehicle while he got distracted by once again playing his video game and putting away his food, per court papers. This incident sadly follows other recent tragic deaths of children in the summer due to deadly temperatures and negligent parents. Let me go back to the court ruling here, okay? While he may meet the point system, the judge had discretion here. Prosecution had discretion as well. Prosecution decided to use their discretion. They said, "We get it, Judge. He meets the point factor here. We're not buying it. He wasn't truthful with authorities. Doesn't matter he doesn't have a violent record. We know that he's done this before, according to the text messages that are part of evidence now." But at any point, does someone say, he cannot be around children anymore? No. The wife argued to the court, "Please let him out so he could come around these other children," after he killed one of his own children. Not because of one act of negligence, but because of multiple acts of negligence that he had been warned about prior. But no one in the judicial system was concerned about him possibly being around children again after he just admitted to killing one of his own. He gets a signature bond. You see, this is insane. And at the end of this, what the system really says, it's not just a proclamation for his level of privilege. It's a proclamation about the judicial system's lack of concern for the children. Now, how is it that I'm more concerned about these children than the judge? Makes no sense at all. Wise thoughts here.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling, honestly, when you think about the negligence involved here, and just the, I don't know, this is beyond mindlessness. I wonder if this guy has some actual mental acuity issues. I really do, because it's hard for me to think that a parent could care this little about their child who is in their care. And we all know children that young are as vulnerable as it gets. They can't do for themselves. She can't unlock her freaking chair, unlock the car, and get out for air. Like, this is somebody dependent on this person's care in order to literally survive. And he failed at the most basic of tasks. Like, this is, we're not even talking about, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and putting the kid in front of an iPad. Like, this is just like, get the kid out of a hot ass car. And this parent could not be trusted to do that. It honestly, it just boggles the mind that this could ever happen in any capacity. And I do feel bad for the survivors. The mom who married this freaking dope, and his other two children who have to go on living knowing that their dad freaking killed their little sister. It's just a horrible thing all around.
Yeah, very bad. Obviously, we'll bring you updates as the court case develops. Okay. It's called instant karma. Here it is.
Well, you ran into the wrong person. Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. Go sit down. You got that man. Oh, you know where I'm from? Do I look like I give a? I mean, something. I don't give a. You in South. Remember that. Why are you trying to threaten me? No one's threatening you. Just leave me the alone. What's wrong with you, bro? They said don't push me out the way. Then don't run into me. I'm simple, man. I dare you. I really dare you. Come on, my life. I dare you. I dare you, bro. Come here. I dare you. Come on now. Let's go. Let's go. I dare you. I love you, bro. Let's go now. But listen, Afro man, come. Yo, John. There's no need for it. What? Swing it. I dare you. I dare you. Swing it. Swing it. Don't.
Self-defense. We have a replay of that. Let's see it.
I dare you. Swing it. Swing it. Don't.
My producers did that. So, okay. All right. Big ups to Jordan. Yeah. So what happened here? It's not that complicated, but let's go ahead and talk about it. We'll put it up. This happened in, London Underground. A white male riding on the London Underground made a racist remark to a young black passenger who did not escalate. He was letting it go. He just said, leave me alone. You can be racist, leave me alone. Leave me alone. He warned him, back off, before knocking him completely out. I do not advocate violence. I do advocate self-defense. The minute-long confrontation was captured on a viral video. Neither man has been identified. It's really nothing to see here. No charges. Maybe you could call this mutual combat, all right? The footage begins with the older man standing in the train aisle, engaged in a heated argument with the younger black male a few feet away. The argument began after the two apparently kind of bumped into each other. That happens on the train while boarding the train, though that moment was not captured on the video. The white male's female companion quietly takes a seat after failing to convince him to do the same. Dressed in dark swim shorts and a wife beater, the gray-haired man appears wobbly on his feet and is slurred in some of his speech. Some parts of the heated exchange cannot be heard due to the poor audio quality, but it's clear that the black male is annoyed from the start. Bro, you ran into the wrong person to start effing with, he scolds the older male. Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. Leave me alone. Go sit down. He repeated, trying to bring the man to his senses. Instead of taking the advice, the white male continues to provoke the younger male and was obviously looking for a 1-2 combination. All right, we got to stop. All right, this is a public service announcement. If you feel like being froggy, don't leap. Just feel it on the inside of your heart. Okay. All right, Waz. I mean, this was instant karma, and here's the worst thing about it. He got knocked out in front of his lady friend.
That's the toughest. That's the toughest. That's the one that he's gonna have the hardest time recovering. I'm sure the punch to his grill, he'll in time he will heal. I'm sure he might have bumped his head on the way down. In time, he might be slightly concussed, but he can heal from that and come back. There's just no coming back from getting your butt whooped in front of your woman. It's just, especially after you asked for it and provoked it. That is just a tough one. And just watching that clip, it just struck me that this is F around and find out in clip form, literally. Right. Like this guy literally would not stop messing around. And then he found out what the consequences and repercussions would be. It's sweet, sweet justice, honestly.
Yeah, and here's the thing, man. He seems like he's a guy who likes to have fun, talk ish. He can never talk ish to any of his friends again. Because the next time he decides to talk ish, one of his friends, they're gonna say, don't make me knock your ass out like Buddy did on that train. Every time.
Well, don't make me call him.
Don't make me call him, I'll knock you out. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
Let's pretend the race is held today.
I've got Trump at 279, 259. I gave him Florida, Ohio, and... No, listen, so in his life, he's had a great track record of failure, bankruptcies, running from Vietnam, everything like that. But he's a populist candidate when the country is angry and you've run, and it's the most establishment candidate we've ever seen against him. It was a terrible idea by the Democrats to support Hillary
Clinton. So you're so hot against him today because you think he's going to win.
If the Democrats are not really, really worried that in this populist time, Donald Trump doesn't have an excellent chance to win, they're completely wrong.
A big victory there for Donald Trump. Key state, no Republican has ever won the White House without winning Ohio. Donald Trump has won it.
Biden's going to lose. Here, I don't want you to quote me later. I don't want it to be Biden. I don't want to be proven right.
Trump would be a betting favorite. In 2020, maybe he was the only one who could have beaten Trump. I think now he's the only one
who will lose to him. He cannot run.
I don't think Trump should run. I don't think President Biden should run.
David Axelrod, longtime Democratic strategist who has defended Biden time and time again. After Axelrod floated the idea earlier this month that Democrats might need the president to consider whether he's the best nominee for the party next year, Biden was reportedly so angered that he referred to Axelrod as a prick.
Biden's not up by 12 points. He can't coast to victory. He's losing. If he does not make up ground, Trump wins.
Tell me about the shirt you're wearing.
Pretty much speaks for itself. What's the penalty for treason? Death. Everything was phenomenal under Donald Trump, and now it's Obama calling the shots right now. It ain't Biden.
So it's Obama calling the shots?
I believe so. None of this would be happening if they hadn't stolen the 2020 election from Trump and we the people.
If you could have an option of 4 years of Donald Trump as a dictator or 4 years of Joe Biden as a president, what would you choose?
Donald Trump.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Okay. I wish a dragon would, but black people use their word. Have a seat. Next T1 reporter. If I was that kid's parent, I would be going to prison because he would be dead too. You got to question the wisdom of the mother, who clearly said in her text messages, "You've done this before. I told you to stop doing this." And then she begs the judge, "Please, please, please, judge, let him come back to the house." All right. C. Michael Henson. Thank you, C. Michael. People like to hide behind the fact that the Civil War was about property rights and the right to keep their property and not slavery. That's right. But slaves were also considered property. Don't be fooled. That's a spin. States' rights, property rights, freedom in the states. Yeah. G. Martinez Max says, at this point, I strongly believe Trump perceives a black woman as his nightmare come to life. I agree 100%. Someone he can't control, possess, while endlessly lusting after, she's successful, held him accountable. Yeah. And Brendan Golden, thank you. Isn't it ironic how Trump, to say how disgusted he is with the Central Park Five, but decades later, he's guilty of sexual assault and tight with Epstein. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And welcome. We got Bobby Ross, welcome to Indisputable. Miriam M.A., welcome to Indisputable. And the instructor gifted 5 Indisputable memberships. I thank you. So welcome. Moni P. Dragon, Yazora Sora, Ms. Ra or Ray, JB AK, and Dylan Doe. Thank you so much for joining. All right, I got something for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
My
Give me a moment, so take a step back. Don't touch my phone. Are you crazy? Is you crazy? Do not touch me or my phone. Take a step back, sir. Take a step back. Both of you. Take a step back now. Take a step back now. Take a step back.
Sit back in our seats.
Mom, please take a step back. Again, I asked you to give me a moment. Take a step back. You're being rude and disrespectful.
Giving you a
Take a step back. Take a step back. Take a step back. Thank you. Take a step back. Take a step back. I asked you to give me a moment. Now take a step back. No. Let's go. Where's your ticket, bub? Thank you. It's okay. Just give me just a second. Here you go. Thank you. Excuse us. Excuse us. Thank you. take some decorum. That's all it takes is decorum. I asked you to give me a second. No, and you gotten down in my face like I was because you turned away from me. No, I did not, ma'am. I said, give me a second. I was Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm a grown-ass woman. You are not my mother. I said, give me a second. You're not. I'm not a grown woman. I am, but as am I. And I asked you to give me a moment. Really? No, thank you. Without looking at me. Ma'am, I did look at you. Thank you. I don't you don't deserve anything else from me. Guys, come on, let's go, okay? Let's take a step down. We're gonna slide down, okay? Example for you. What you did. Wonderful. Wow, example. what you did, and I have it all on video, and I cannot wait to post it. Bread Brock's Theater. Let's see what happens with that. Let's see what happens with that. We love these kind of things. Enjoy your movie.
I actually have more video. Here it is.
Mary, where did the manager go? The gentleman that was here. Yeah, page him, please. And can you get Manchester PD on the phone? I'd like to press charges. You're gonna press charges on me? Most definitely. Most definitely, I'm gonna press charges. Most definitely, I'm pressing charges. They'll see. You can.
Most definitely. We have an update, some background. Put up the picture full mass. I want to bring your attention to something. The theater is called the Bread Box Theater. The Karen alleged is wearing a t-shirt that says Bread Box Theater. This is a person who takes the local theater seriously. I have never in my life gone to an AMC theater and witnessed someone with an AMC t-shirt. But she has on the brand of the theater. Viral TikTok video shows a mother confronting a Karen over reserved seats, okay? The disagreement is understandable, but the physical combat is the part that's despicable. Ironically, they were seeing Despicable Me 4. The mother, Erin Walton, recorded the altercation at the Buckland Hill in Manchester, Connecticut, where the Karen yelled at Walton and smacked her phone. That was evident in the video. Walton pushed her away, telling her not to touch her phone. The Karen's son intervened. He did what he was supposed to do as a young man, okay? That's his mother. Asking Walton to move, but Walton told them to step back and give her space. The young man accompanying the woman leads his mother away from Walton while Walton checks her son's ticket to verify the seating. After checking the ticket, she moves her son and belongings to different seats while chastising the woman. Quote, take some decorum. That's all it takes is decorum. Walton yells at the woman. The woman starts protesting before the two get into a back and forth. After Walton relocates her children to a different seat, she and the woman leave the theater. Walton beats the woman to the lobby and approaches an employee in the lobby to ask for a manager while the woman stands and waits beside her. Walton also asks the employee to call the police, adding she'd like to press charges. You're gonna press charges on me? The woman loudly asked. You're the one who pushed me. All right, let's go ahead and put up part 2 of this. What happened? The popos. Walton answers, oh, most definitely. Walton actually posted another video showing 2 police officers and someone who appears to be a movie theater employee entering the theater where the movie was still being screened. In the caption of her follow-up video, Walton wrote that the Karen was ticketed for disorderly conduct and public disturbance. The Daily Mail reported that the Karen was escorted outside after the confrontation and has now been banned from the theater. Walton's original video showing the encounter with the woman garnered more than 5 million views overnight and tens of thousands of comments expressing support and admiration for how she handled the situation. Quote, absolutely love how you handled that. Uncalled for interaction, one person wrote. This was the whole Karen experience and you didn't deserve it. Another person commented, over a seat in front of kids, oh my God, I hope she got charged because that's wild. Another comment said, let this be a lesson. Let this be a lesson and also a template, a guide, a blueprint, if you would. The altercation happened. It's simple. Give her a moment. She's going to check the ticket and go to the appropriate seat. But then the physical contact happened. The woman recording decided to defend herself. And then she did something really, really important. And I've said this from day one. You cannot teach a Karen a lesson by giving them grace. Press charges. This person physically assaulted you in front of your children. Press charges. Absolutely correct. Wait on the police. Press charges. You have the video evidence. Press charges. And that's exactly what she did. And at least in this situation, there's hope that the Karen actually learned a lesson. Okay? All right, Woz. Interesting. Rare, by the way, a Karen gets held accountable as quickly as this Karen did. But I think it's the turning of the tide here. People are sick and tired of Karens.
I have a sneaky suspicion that the people who work at that establishment know exactly who this lady is. Right. Considering the fact that she's wearing merch tee, she's well known by the people there, and I think they know her get down. It's just crazy to me because we've all been on flights or, maybe taking a train car or something, and you look up and it's like, oh, hey, I think you happen to be in my seat. Right. It's a quick conversation. You show the ticket. We all move on with our lives, and it's not a problem. Just the idea that something this simple and trivial turns into a big deal. I think you kind of get the message about what kind of person we're dealing with in that younger white lady with the brand merch on.
Right. It's almost like they couldn't wait to give her that no trespass order.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Big ups to the young lady who handled herself quite well. And I hope your little ones enjoy the movie. Okay. Full racism again. That's all they got. They don't have anything else. All right. Let's go. Brian Kilmeade, who decided to speak on the colored sororities. Here it is.
The problem with Kamala Harris, number one, she has not had her record exploited heavily because people thought and marginalized her. Even in the Democratic Party, they said, man, what a bad choice Joe Biden made. Number two is she hasn't sat down for an interview. When she sits down in an interview and says, do you want to fund ICE? Where do you stand on Medicare for all? Why didn't you show up? The most recent decision, already you got a question. She will not show up for the Prime Minister's joint session of Congress today. She'd rather address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority, like she can't get out of that. So that's her decision, and that's her decision to back up the protesters.
This man said colored sorority. You see what's happening, don't you? He's on regular ass TV. Colored sorority. Put it up full mass. Let me do some explaining here. Okay. Alum of the sorority had choice words for Brian Kilmeade. FYI, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is not some colored sorority. It's a 104-year-old organization of college-educated women with a long history of scholarship and service. You sound foolish and racist trying to mock VP Harris because she chose to honor her commitment to speak. Well, Harris chose to speak with them instead of Netanyahu, okay? A guy who's committing genocide. Vice President Kamala Harris, notably absent from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address to a joint session of Congress on Wednesday. But the move could have the potential to show some daylight between her and President Biden, something I actually talked about with a guest yesterday on the program, Reese Colbert. When it comes to the Israeli leader, the move could further solidify support from young, minority, and more progressive voters who, poll shows, they have more sympathetic views as relates to the cause. For starters, you have one representative, Jayapal, a Democrat Washington, chair of the Congressional Progressives Caucus, said recently that Harris, quote, has a deep empathy for the situation of Palestinian Americans, adding it's more natural to her, which was clear in some of the, dissension that was echoed from the White House through the vice president's communication director at a time. Also, Brian Kilmeade wasn't the only one engaging in this kind of rhetoric. Here it is.
I mean, intellectually, just really kind of the bottom of the barrel.
I think there have been some brilliant American women in politics, but I don't think Kamala Harris is one of them.
She would be the queen of DEI if she were elected. She is DEI.
And of course, her whole history is DEI, diversity, exclusion, and equity. I mean, inclusion and equity. I mean, what does that tell you? It's totally woke.
The only reason Kamala's in the White House is because of the DEI deal Biden cut with Bernie to seal the nomination.
What I hate is identity politics. We shouldn't care if somebody is an ethnic minority. We shouldn't care if they're a woman. We should be caring about, can they do the job? And she is not proven as vice president she can do the job.
I think she was a DEI hire, and I think that that's what we're seeing.
And Donald Trump's going to win in November, and we will be rid of all this DEI, woke culture, BS nonsense, I won't use the word, that America has been subjected to.
Yeah, and then there's the DEI press secretary telling you that the DEI vice president is the future of the party here. And so the future looks kind of dim for the Democrats here, but this is no shocker either. Kamala Harris, she's the original Haktua girl. That's the way she got where she is. And the party's going downhill if it's in her hands.
That was tough.
They ain't got nothing else. That's all they got. That's all they got. Listen, I applaud the Republican Party for staying on message. Damn it, that's one thing they can do, especially when they're wrong. They will repeat a talking point over and over and over again. You can go to this conservative station. You can go to another conservative blog. You can watch a conservative on YouTube. They're saying the same thing. She is a DEI hire, not qualified, not credentialed. Well, explain. They never do. They don't go line by line. They don't go item by item. They don't talk about education. They don't talk about actual accomplishment. They don't talk about public service. If they actually go line by line, clearly you will see the difference between her qualifications, which are massive compared to the guy that they choose. And then they talk about brilliance. She's not a brilliant woman. What? Wait a minute. Why is it that the lack of brilliance from Donald Trump never came up? All of the failures of their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, never is an issue. They make excuses for Trump they would not make for their children or themselves. They accept behavior from Trump they would not accept from members of their own family. They would disown people in their household for what Trump does on a regular basis. And they will praise Trump for these actions. It is more than just cult behavior. They are in a cult. They are in a cult era. And Donald Trump knows it. Okay, Woz, I'm actually okay with this because this tells me they really have nothing, and this whole DEI thing, that's not moving the needle anywhere, especially for middle of the road voters.
I think what you're watching in those clips that you guys brilliantly put together, Dr. Ritchie, is a misaligned incentive structure between what's good for Fox News, hate radio, as you mentioned, and what would actually be good electorally for Republican national politicians. What do I mean by that? These people dined out on those 8 years of Obama. We're talking about records in profits and viewerships to demonize Obama. However, at the ballot box, he kicked their butts both times, whooped them really badly, because these swing voters, these independent voters, they don't mind Black people. They don't. Right. They wouldn't have voted for Obama as overwhelmingly as they did. They don't mind the idea that Kamala is a woman, is Black, is brown. You know, her mother's Indian or whatever. Like, they don't really have a problem with that. And like we mentioned earlier in the show, like, they're making gains amongst minorities in terms of actual voters. Now, if the politicians want to actually win, I think we've seen Trump sort of even signaling to the media that he's softening his message. He's pivoting to the center. Pivoting will not include this nasty DUI, oh, she's a hoe, oh, this kind of crap. Like, that's not going to actually work. Now, if they want to come out and be like, look, you know, Biden made her the border czar, and we still think the border's a mess. We want to hang that around her neck. We want to blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. That's fair game. That's what we call politics for sure. But this line of, oh, she's promiscuous, no kids, the one idiot called her a cat lady, all of this, that's not going to work.
Yeah, and they think it will. I'm okay. Listen, I'm encouraging them. Keep on, because you're right. It doesn't move the moderate voter at all.
Period.
I just hope Democrats realize that they still, while playing some of the politics, obviously, is required, they still have to talk about things that actually relate back to policy and deliver them, damn it. They have to deliver. That is the best way to regain the ground here. Deliver. All right. Okay. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
I really love what y'all do on the Young Turks, man, and it's a very refreshing, voice. Y'all don't lean to one side. I tell people all the time, if you want to go really hear what's going on honestly in our society, you should tune in to the Young Turks.
Thank you, Charlemagne. We appreciate that.
That's awesome. Really appreciate it, brother.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome back. Let me read a couple of these comments. I'm thankful for everyone who joins the combo. Okay. Yeah. Donald James X, she was right. There is a decorum with misunderstandings, a conduct. That's right, that's correct. And Shy Lara, teach your children how to hold Karens accountable in real time. I agree, and it was well done. Chichi Massey, member for 24 months, double doser, 2 piece and a biscuit coming right up. Kathy Otay, welcome to Indisputable. And Twitch. Michael Richards, I went to a cinema today, sat in the wrong seat. Guess what happened? When the family whose seats we were in came along, we said, sorry, checked our tickets, moved along with zero confrontation. That's the way it happens most of the time. That's right. Okay. Racism, so extreme. A student puts the knee on the neck of a black classmate. Put up the picture full mass. Lee and Brittany Graham, the parents of a black teenager, decided to move their son from Nebraska, a Nebraska town, after learning he was exposed to a relentless racist environment at his predominantly white school. The Grahams told the Lincoln Journal-Star they moved their family from California to the small town of Wayne, Nebraska in April 2023 in search of a small, close-knit community. It was only shortly after they settled in that their dreams of making Wayne their long-term home soured. Lee and Brittany Graham, who are white, are the adoptive parents of 2 black sons. As a pastor and a nurse, they thought Wayne would be the perfect town where their careers would thrive and they could create interpersonal bonds in the 6,000-person municipality. However, knowing the area lacked diversity, they were adamant about questioning school officials to determine whether the district would make their son feel welcome. Administrators reassured them that he would flourish at the school, but did little to address the racist incidents when their son reported them. Soon after enrolling their son into a local high school, they learned that his new friends and classmates began racially antagonizing him, according to the Grahams. And bullying began when one student called their son the N-word. Others soon joined in and started calling him the slur daily and making offensive gestures, like making monkey noises and calling him a baboon. After making the football team, he started hearing the N-word at games, something we've reported on at Indisputable multiple times. From players on the opposite team, the Grahams said their son told them of the bullying, but asked them to not intervene, hoping he could resolve the issue himself. However, the incident that was the final straw happened on November 2023 during his PE class. He was lying on the floor after running sprints when a classmate placed a knee on his neck and asked him if he could breathe, openly mocking the dreadful way George Floyd was murdered in 2020. Finally, our son came to us and said, quote, "I can't do this anymore. I need you to get involved. I can't live like this." Lee Graham said it was about to break him. Put up the superintendent. See, the buck is supposed to stop with him. Wayne Community School Superintendent Mark Linehan said the district was unable to take action since there were rarely witnesses or evidence to prove such incidents happened. The superintendent said the district plans to implement more extensive training for all faculty to teach them how to observe school policies and report bullying and harassment. Officials also plan to engage students in productive discussions on social emotional wellness, racism, and harassment. There was one instance when a teacher overheard the students calling the Graham son racial slurs. The teacher never reported the incident to administrators and merely decided to write the student a letter of apology. The Graham said the letter was a nice gesture, but denounced the teacher's failure to stop the harassment as it was happening or even report it. The Graham son was only enrolled at the school for one semester, thank God. They withdrew their son from the school at the start of the school semester, January 2024, and he completed the rest of the school year from home. After considering whether to enroll him in a different school, the Grahams ultimately decided to move from Wayne County to give their son a fresh start. The family finally moved in May, but not before speaking to the superintendent directly about how the school system plans to handle racist and discriminatory behavior when it happens. Quote, "I want to make sure that he continues to be diligent," Lee Graham said of the superintendent. "I want to make sure that it wasn't just to appease a family that had left. I want to make sure that the entire staff and leadership of Wayne School is dedicated for years and years to come to eradicate this." The Grahams moved to the South, ironically, to be closer to family members. While racism is still prevalent in that part of the country, they say their son is currently enrolled in a more diverse school that shows less tolerance for racism. Put up these remarkable parents again. I was a foster kid. I went through 5 different foster homes myself as a preteen and teenager. And I remember Diane Mitchell, white school counselor who adopted me for a period of time. And there were these differences culturally, obviously. But she had so much love in her heart that we were able to melt those cultural differences. And I believe that these parents are of the same pedigree. And I just want to say thank you for doing the right thing for your black son. All right, Wosny, thoughts here?
Yeah, it just sucks that they had to actually move the kid out of his school, out of, something that had become at least semi-comfortable, in order to avoid these kinds of things. Even in today, in 2024, we realize that kids can be quite cruel to one another, unfortunately, even still in a racial manner. You wonder what's going on culturally in terms of the parents and the community, that this kind of thing can just flourish at a school. It's one thing for people to say whatever they say or do whatever they do within the privacy of their own homes, but that kids would carry that out into the public and inflict this kind of pain on their fellow classmate is terrible. But like you said, I would definitely like to commend their adoptive parents, man. These folks are stepping up to the plate and ensuring the well-being and safety of their charges. So that's pretty cool, honestly. That's the best part of this story to me.
I agree 100%. All right. In a bit of irony and also boldness and strength, Miss Kansas, the winner, called out her abuser who was in the audience. Here it is.
Off the top, Alexis, what will be your vision as the next brand ambassador for the Miss Kansas organization?
My vision as the next Miss Kansas is to eliminate unhealthy and abusive relationships. Matter of fact, some of you out in this audience saw me very emotional because my abuser is here today. But that's not going to stop me from being on this Miss Kansas stage and from representing as the next Miss Kansas. Because I and my community deserve healthy relationships. We deserve a domestic-free life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amen, dear sister. Put up a picture for me. I was very proud of her. So Miss Kansas, a winner, Alexis Smith, called out her alleged abuse on stage. It has been widely shared. When asked about her vision for the next brand ambassador for Miss Kansas, she stated her aim to eliminate unhealthy and abusive relationships. Smith revealed that her abuser was present in the audience that day, but affirmed it would not stop her from representing Miss Kansas and advocating for healthy relationships. Her platform was entitled Respect Reclaimed, which she states on Instagram is about reclaiming your power and staying firmly in it. Very proud of her. Everyone deserves freedom. Everyone deserves opportunity to grow, to thrive with somebody who truly loves you. However, if for some reason there's somebody not loving you the right way and they are abusive, we have some opportunity for you to get assistance, all right? CTA title, contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE, that's 7233. You can also text START to 88788. For more information, you can go to thehotline.org. It sent shockwaves, Wosny, through many, and then people applauded because it came from such an authentic place. They knew she wasn't putting on, it wasn't a show. That was a very real moment. And typically in pageants, you don't get that level of authenticity because everything is very measured by design. This was a rare moment and an extremely real moment for everybody involved. What say you?
Yeah, just really cool that she could step up in that way. Oftentimes, you hear the nonsense when people, finally come to the fore and tell their stories. People are like, well, wait a second. Why didn't you say this back then? Why weren't you more forthcoming? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we know that it's hard oftentimes for people who suffer from abuse to come out of their shell, so to speak, and be able to speak fully for themselves and, step into their purpose. And I think this young woman felt emboldened by her accomplishment and just felt like, hey, man, I can do anything. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that less people go through the horrible experiences that I've had. And I think that's quite commendable in its selflessness to put yourself out there like that and explain that, like, hey, man, I know there's a stigma around people who've experienced abuse. I don't care. And I would like to make a better future for everybody else. I think that's as good as it gets when it comes to, and I think people can ascribe some frivolity to the idea of a beauty pageant or whatever. But to me, if you get that much eyes on you, and you're able to forward or advance a cause that's bigger than yourself, I don't think there's anything more admirable than that.
Yeah, very well said. I agree completely. All right, I got a question for everybody. What in the red state hell?
You can take a gun, shoot somebody in the face. It's not hard. Sometimes it might even be fun if they're a godless commie.
Now, what they're trying to do is sneak the COVID vaccine in your salads.
I hate math. Somebody say amen.
I'm Bill Eigel. I'm running for governor to crack down on illegal immigration.
Él es Bill Eigel y tomará medidas enérgicas contra la inmigración ilegal.
No more taxpayer handouts for illegals, period. Nada. Zilch. Zero.
No más ilegales, no más dinero, no más fiestas.
We're throwing them in jail and sending them back where they came from.
Ay, caramba.
Andre, arriba.
It's time to take Missouri back.
These folks out there rabbit ass mind. But this is what's happening. This is a real commercial. Put it up full mass. Here we go. Senator Bill Eigel. Well, Republican candidate for governor now released a new ad promising to round up and deport immigrants. Sharing the ad on X, he wrote, "My latest TV ad is a simple message to illegal immigrants. The part is over. Pack your bags. You're getting the hell out of here." But one key feature of the spot obviously revolted many viewers. So Eigel, who's polling well behind the lieutenant governor who's running, and the Secretary of State who's running in the August 6th primary, appears in the ad alongside a much smaller Hispanic man who translates the GOP candidate's campaign promises, but adds his own commentary. Dilly becomes flustered when threatened with mass deportations. Obviously, this is something that is one of those, well, let's just give some red meat to the base. But here's the problem. That guy is the main stage guy, meaning he is part of the mainstream Republican, my apologies, MAGA party now. He's not on the fringes. He may not win this election, but he's winning the hearts and the minds of the racist in the MAGA party. All right, Wosny, thoughts here?
Just a clownish ad.
Yeah.
I think Dave Chappelle might have blushed having watched that, because that's straight out of a Chappelle skit to put that ad out unironically. And I do want to say a couple of things about the illegal immigration subject, because I do think there are reasonable people. In fact, immigrants, people who, basically waited their turn, did their paperwork, whatever, got their green card via the quote unquote official processes, who might see illegal immigration as a problem. I remember a while ago, we did a story about these black folks in Chicago who were just like, look, man, they're taking resources from our schools, they're taking resources from our libraries and putting in resources for these people who are coming in illegally. I don't think you have to be completely foaming at the mouth racist to see illegal, the levels of illegal immigration in certain communities and be like, hey, wait a minute, man, like, are we helping out the people who have already been here, who've already been in the community enough before we, dole out resources? I don't happen to agree, but I can understand how reasonable people may come to that conclusion. However, what I would say to these MAGA types, until I see them addressing U.S. official policy in places like Guatemala, El Salvador, Central America, South America, Mexico, until we address the policies that we've enacted that have created these adverse conditions. People don't just want to leave their country and freaking basically walk to freaking America from Central America for the fun of it. Like, they're having a hard time in the places that they're at, and they're coming to America to find a better way. Like, until we address the issues that are being caused by, again, American intervention in these foreign places, we can't sit up here and be like, oh, hell no, people can't come up here to America to try to find a better way. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and the reality is undocumented immigration is based on policy dynamics that go well beyond our domestic understanding and our domestic implementation. It's quite hypocritical because truly, if you want to solve the problem, you go to the cause because every effect has a cause and every cause has an effect. But due to the globalization of economic realities, we, when I say we, I mean the United States of America, economically depend on there being a permanent labor class in all facets. So they'll give you lip service. And if you think this is about employment, think again. Automation takes more employment away from Americans than anything else, and those jobs never come back, no matter what. So if your issue is jobs, tackle it. Okay, well, as always, a pleasure, dear brother, having you on the program. Remind people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
Check out what we're doing at theringer.com, of course, all things sports, all things pop culture. And just find me on wherever you get your social media, BIGWOS, Big Waz on every single social media platform.
Thank you, dear brother. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Peace.
All right, we got more on the other side. The bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
I really love what y'all do on the Young Turks, man, and it's a very refreshing, voice. Y'all don't lean to one side. I tell people all the time, if you want to go really hear what's going on honestly in our society, you should tune in to the Young Turks.
Thank you, Charlemagne. We appreciate that.
That's awesome. Really appreciate it, brother.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen.
They should be concerned for their safety.
Okay, all right.
As long as I'm alive, they should be concerned for their safety.
You're going all in.
I'm all in, bro. There's nothing that's going to stop me. I'm going after specific individuals and their staff that supported this. So 350 plus staff. We're only looking at a couple thousand people, right? Exactly. By the way, I will say this. The longer form list, yes, I have all their phone numbers and addresses, etc.
Damn.
Wow. I'm going to explain to you what this is about. We can put a picture forward, Mass. Investigative correspondent Jordan Green, who covers right-wing extremism, does a remarkable job, works with everybody, has significant connection in understanding these extreme dynamics. So, Jordan, what in the hell are we looking at?
Hi, Dr. Ritchie. Thank you. Always good to be with you.
Good to have you.
So, I mean, this is something that has been brewing, probably since January 6th and well before that. But it is a former military officer who developed this list of mostly federal employees and basically anyone who has run afoul of Donald Trump and former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and kind of in a very granular way, laying out this pseudo-legalistic framework to call for their arrest on mostly treason charges. What makes it more disturbing is that he is trying to enlist sheriffs in conservative rural counties to detain these individuals. And there's an element of vigilantism that he's trying to enlist volunteers to carry out the arrest. He also has cultivated ties with members of Congress who chair different committees. So he has continued to promote this plan over the past 6 months, and his rhetoric is escalating.
Yeah, Ivan Raikkonen. Now, this guy is a former intelligence officer. Worked for the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency. He's a former colonel,
Lieutenant Colonel,
United States Army. So tell me, Armed Reserve, how does this guy, how does this individual who obviously went through significant training, obviously has demonstrated he's able to comply with orders, he gets promoted in rank, and then he becomes this individual who spouts what seems to be lawlessness as his new proclamation for the United States of America, and a loyal Trump surrogate?
It's a good question. I haven't had the opportunity to talk to him about his biographical background and his personal evolution. As you mentioned, he worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency. That agency was at one time headed by Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, and these two individuals have a pre-existing relationship through that. At some point, Colonel Raikkonen, he ran for Senate from Virginia in 2018, lost, and seems to have just gone all in on MAGA and election denialism. He was involved in the effort to overturn the 2020 election. We can talk more about that if you wish.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about that. And I also want to get into his potential recruiting of actual elected sheriffs and police officers. So let's talk about January 6th. I see it as a terrorist attack. He sees it as a patriotic move. Talk about how this interplay of his policy stance today may affect us moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, during January, in the run up to January 6th, he was promoting this idea called the Pence card, which is the idea that, as most of your viewers are familiar, the baseless, unfounded idea that the vice president can set aside the electoral votes. And so, John Eastman was the kind of legal architect of this strategy. And meanwhile, Ivan Raikkonen was pushing it on right-wing media outlets and on social media. So yeah, that was kind of his role.
Do you feel, based on your investigative reporting, do you have the sense that this guy, if Trump gets elected, all right, that's a big if, Do you have the sense that this guy actually will become a high-ranking official inside of the Trump White House?
No, I do not. I think that he's more the kind of person that Trump would want to keep an arm's length from. The danger is more that he will kind of, Raiklin will kind of instigate and rile his followers up, and they'll become impatient with the pseudo-legalistic framework, and they might, frankly, commit assaults or kidnapping. You kind of look at what happened to former House Speaker Pelosi's husband getting attacked by someone who's like stewing in these various conspiracy theories. Raiklin's conspiracy theories are, every bit as off the wall as the kind of thing that has stoked other acts of violence against elected officials.
You got to think about this, dear brother, because this individual obviously had and possibly still does have security clearance. And this individual is or has been in receipt of highly classified information. That's the reason you work in intelligence. You are in receipt of classified information in order to exact investigations and make recommendations moving forward. How do you get from an analytical mind? Because in order to be an investigator or an intelligence officer, typically you must possess an analytical mind. You have to critically think. To then go to a place where critical thinking is not celebrated, because conspiracy theories, those that basically subscribe to them, usually are simply reinforcing their own biases and not being thoughtful about processes and procedures. So how do you think this guy was a conspiracy theorist when he was an intelligence officer? Or do you think this is something that's a new brand for him, that is gaslighting in order to be connected to power? Or do you believe he has changed? He's been radicalized by MAGA itself.
Yeah, at risk of trying to get inside of his head, I think there is a radicalization that happens with the proximity to power and seeing that the central figure of the MAGA movement, Donald Trump, is someone who promotes conspiracy theories, and so.
But Trump don't believe him. Trump don't believe what he's saying. He's just trying to get from point A to Z. He doesn't believe the jargon in between.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can ask the same thing about these operators like Raiklin or say General Flynn about whether they truly believe it or if they've just gone down if they believe it and they went down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, or they know that it's not true and they're using it to try to achieve an objective. And I unfortunately don't have the answer to that question.
Yeah. Well, none of us do, unfortunately. To the point about this individual not being in the administration, but possibly being some kind of proxy for Trump to use, as he has done prior with some of these group Proud Boys, et cetera. To me, it almost makes him even more dangerous because one, he comes with credentials that others don't have inside of the MAGA movement. Let's be clear. Everybody isn't a former intelligence officer. Everybody is not former lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve, but this guy is. Everybody's not connected directly to Flynn, who somehow became a superstar to them. They have no idea how, but he comes in with a different pedigree about himself. And then you see
Absolutely.
Trump, who has this, he has this thing, man. He's willing to make you run into the fire. He's not going, just like when he told people to go to the Capitol. He's not going, but he wants to animate you to go. And this guy seems like he's willing to go.
Yeah, I want to be really clear though. Raiklin talks about this plan for live streamed swatting raids against deep state target members, so-called. He talks about implementing it regardless of the outcome of the election. And if Trump is not reelected, or if Trump doesn't win, it's almost more dangerous and as it pertains to this plan, because he's appealing to sheriffs in areas of the country that support Trump to try to exact some justice through other means.
Wow. Is the FBI watching him? Do you have any indication that the FBI is questioning him, watching him? He's on some kind of list?
Former and current FBI employees are on the target list. I was remiss in not reaching out to the FBI. I don't think that they would comment, but I will do that.
Yeah, let's see. He had, well, after this reporting, Jordan, he got to be on the list somewhere, because you can't just let a guy who has the training say these reckless things, say he's going to do them, and he's not on the list for at least a question or two. I understand everybody has freedom of speech. All right, for those who are watching and they would like to get access to this, it's an amazing investigative report. How can they do so?
Google Raw Story and Google Ivan Raiklin.
There you go. All right,
Raw
man.
Story.
We appreciate all you do, man. We really do. I mean, you get in there, Doc. You get the answers. I don't know how the hell you do it, brother. But some of your reporting with these right-wing extremists is scary stuff. And you got to be a brave man to do what you do. So we appreciate you. We appreciate all that you do. You always have an opportunity here at Indisputable.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on your show. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Honor's mine. All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.